Welcome to the Rebirth podcast. My name is Caitlin Hill. I have been on a massive journey of self-discovery since becoming a mom. I'm curious to find out how we can be the best version of ourselves as women and mothers, and how that has a ripple effect on the rest of the world. I am so honored to have you listening here today. Please take a deep breath and welcome to the space. Today on the show, I am chatting with Aislings FitzGibbon, who is a modern medicine woman, holistic nutritionist, and author of Moving from Fear to Trust. She is the founder of the Aislings Health School that offers one-on-one mentorship, membership, courses, and masterclasses that are all designed to support you in reclaiming your health. Aislings supports women all around the world to heal from chronic and autoimmune conditions, prepare for a healthy pregnancy, and supports mothers and children on their healing path. We wasted absolutely no time and jumped into it right away. What did your mom ask you?
So in summer of 2017, she said, "What is it that you're here to do?" And that's a pretty deep question.
Yeah.
So I just started free writing. And the message came through: moving from fear to trust. You're here to cross the bridge and to help people to move from fear to trust. But you have to do it first. So I was like, okay. So I started writing that and started kind of bringing that through. And I actually created a group program at that winter. And I did that journey for like 3 months. And most of the people in the group were kind of coming to us because they actually wanted to release the fear around losing their loved ones. So nearly everybody in the group had lost a very close, like, parent or spouse. And that was actually unknowns to me. It was preparing me for what was going to be my next initiation, which was the biggest fear that I had, was losing my mom. So a few months later, my mom started with this itch on her nose, and she just said to me, "I can't speak, like, this itch is just like, it's driving me mental." So she said, "I'm not going to talk because every time I talk, it gets worse." So anyway, she ends up in A&E in the casualty. And they don't know what's going on. They're doing all the different tests. And she sat up in the bed with me that night in the hospital, and she said, "I'm an eternal being. Get in with the Americans." And I said, "What do you mean, Mom?" And she just was like, "Yeah." And then she wasn't fully lucid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
her eyes were closed, and it was like she just had that message. It was so clear. And then I'd say to her, like, "Who am I?" And even though her eyes were closed, she was like, "Aisling." You know, she knew it was me even towards the very end. And then the next day, she actually just said to me, "I feel poisoned." She said, "I need to get back into my garden." And she was actually talking about digging up vegetables and everything.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, "I'm just going to go now, Mom. I'm going to make you a vegetable soup and I'm going to come back." So her sisters came in and were watching her. I came back, gave her a few spoons of this vegetable soup. She was lying down, and then she grabbed my arm really, really tight. And then she kind of sat up. And then as she sat up, her eyes were like this. She had like a kind of dark blue eyes, but her eyes went like translucent almost. They were like super blue, piercing, looking at me. And then just that moment, it was like, I felt like she left her body. She had a massive grand mal seizure.
Wow.
And I fell to the floor, and I was just like, my mom's dead.
And right then and there, like, did she?
She didn't physically die then and there. They put her onto a medically induced coma, and she was in the coma for 3 months.
Wow. Oh, I did not. Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize it was so long.
So every week it was like, "Oh, we'll take her out of the coma. We'll see, is her brain still seizing? It's still seizing, right? We're putting her back into sedation. We're trying all these different, everything they were giving her." And a friend of mine rang me, and she never knew any of this was happening. And she said to me, "I have a friend here, and she wants to come to see Scotia's Grave, which is a place near our home." And she knew that my mom knew a lot about it, and she wanted to have like a tour. And I said, "My mom's like in an ICU at the moment." And my friend was like, "Oh," she actually just hung up because she was so shocked. And she was driving at the time. So she rang me back when she had parked in. And she just said, "I'm so sorry." And she said, I just spoke to my friend there. And she said, it's not Scotia she wanted to come see. It's actually Martha she's meant to come see. So she said, "With your permission, can she come to meet your mom in the ICU, And she said, I didn't know this about her, but she actually has a gift of being able to speak with people who have left their body. Either they've died or they're outside of their body in some shape or form." So I was like, "Please come down." So she came the next day, and she said, "Look, I'm just going to go in. and I'm going to put my hands on Martha and I'm going to connect to her. And if she has any messages, I'll come back and I'll let you know. So that was fun. So she put her hands on her, and then she turned to me and she just had tears like streaming in her eyes. And she said, Martha, I found, she said she's not anywhere near her body. She's not even here. And I felt that. It was just like a
shell.
It's like a shell of herself. And she said, I've just helped to make her more comfortable, like to kind of get her into something that feels more familiar. She said she was in a place that looked very unfamiliar, and she was just helping her anyway. She's a shamanic soul worker. And she just said to me, Martha's message is, will you forgive me if I can't come back? And at that time I was just like, no, she's going to recover, and I'm not listening to that. But then part of me also knew, okay, like this is what's happening. Do you know? So I felt like those 3 months were to adjust to mom is
sorry, there's some loud noises outside the door, just ignore it.
So that 3 months was kind of like almost for me to acclimatize to my mom not being in her body as Martha. Her name was Martha.
And accepting that, I would imagine. Like it, wrapping your head around it.
Everything. It was like I think if it had been so immediate, I think my whole nervous system would have just short circuit. Like I would have just had a complete breakdown.
Yeah.
Whereas it was gradually, transitioning me into this new role. And this lady who came to see Martha, Ocean, she would connect with her like every week. Then I just would have a chat with her online. And she said to me, Martha is doing amazing work at the moment, and she had to leave her body to do this. And I was just like, okay. And she said, I can't even put words to it yet, what she's doing, because it's actually so unknown to me even. But she said to me that she went traveling with Martha, and she said, Martha's bringing this like most exquisite energy frequency onto the earth, but she needs us to help her because she's not physically in a body now. So she can't earth it in. So then she said, we need to do like a ceremony of some kind to actually anchor it in. So I was like, okay. So we contacted my other friend Tracy, and we had a ceremony in a place called Ishnuk, which is like the belly button of Ireland. And there's this cat stone there, and we arranged to have the ceremony. And it was like so mystical, so synchronistic, the way it just all formed itself. Everyone who was meant to just kind of showed up, and it was almost like everyone was being instructed, but it was just like magic happening. And Tracy was bringing it in, and everyone was like, she was asking everyone to like just make a tone, make a sound, and just bring it into the earth. And she was just saying, we might not know yet how this is all coming to fruition, but I think in time we'll understand how all this unfolded. And so once that was completed, I went back to the hospital, and it was like everything was completed, and the doctors were like, yeah, there's no more we can do. It's time to pull her away from life support.
So you had made that choice before they told you that? Like you had kind of made that decision to have the ceremony before the doctors even told you, like, okay, we're not able to bring her back? Like you had kind of come to that conclusion on your own?
It kind of was like that, but also it was just the timing of it. It was just like, I got that message from Ocean, and then she contacted Tracy to say the ceremony needs to happen now.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, so that conversation wasn't even being had with the doctors, because every week they were trying different approaches.
Right.
And it was like, almost like there was just this completion, because I remember we had to travel quite a far distance from where we're living to Ishnuk. And it was like the energy was so high, and then when it finished, it drew to a conclusion, and it was just the human side of it. Then the next day, I was just like uncontrollable sobbing. It was just like that, just letting go of my mother. Yeah.
Wow.
And and then when she was passing away, obviously she wasn't conscious. She was still sedated, because they didn't want to like make her uncomfortable or anything. So obviously she's completely unconscious. And my aunt had Spotify, and she put on the playlist, and she had ABBA, because that was my mum's favorite music from her, like the 70s. Oh. And so it was just randomly like choosing songs, in a shuffle. And then the song I Have a Dream came on, and the minute that song came on, her heart just started to slow.
Whoa.
And as the song completed, she was gone. And I was just like, how did she choose, when she was completely unconscious, like, how did she go on that song? Because when you hear the lyrics of the song, you know, it's like, you know, when my time has come, I'll cross the stream. I just felt like it was her communicating to me, even though she couldn't physically speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the priest came in afterwards, and it was literally like comical, because he said, oh, don't be sad, you know, Martha's just gone to the next dimension.
Oh, he actually said that.
Yeah. And
That's
all my aunts were like, they were all
that's
like,
not,
that's Martha.
That's not very common.
Martha
Yeah.
That's definitely
Exactly.
Martha talking. Because
Wow.
that's how my mom would speak anyway. You know, she'd always be talking about reincarnation, and how, like, when she had me as a baby, that she said the minute she met me, she knew that we were together before. She was like, I know you from before. And that's how I opened the book, you know, it's like, I know you from before. And it's just, yeah, this beautiful message that brought me through that time. But also it showed me on such a tangible level that we are so much more than our physical body,
Mm-hmm.
as in our consciousness is infinite. It can never be destroyed.
Yeah.
And it was like my mom gave me that time, even it was like a little incubation as she was leaving the body fully. And just all these earth angels just started showing up in my path that were just like keeping my spirit up and making sure that I was keeping well. And that, you know, even just getting messages from this woman who I met literally one day in a shop, and she came in as just an earth angel to help me. And just, yeah, she would just give me the most incredible messages that I had to hear at that time, because it was so easy to just spiral down the fear of like what was happening. And she was like, no, everything, you're totally on track. Like everything is going to be everything is working out. You're absolutely fine. And then I was working with my friend Kira, who is deeply mystical and has been able to see spirits and everything since a young child. It's very like on a very spiritual path. And, you know, and she was explaining to me how, again, my mom, yeah, she's going to leave her body, but she was like, it's going to work out fine. You know, it's not the end. And actually, this is all part of your work together.
Mm.
So then a few months after everything happened, I was invited to a conference, and I was speaking about my role in activism with fluoride that I did for many years.
We have to talk about the girl against fluoride. It's like one of my favorite
fluoride.
Stories ever.
Yeah, so I was talking about like evolving activism, because I came out very strong, like back in 2011, 2012, fighting against the system after having an awakening with my own health breaking down, and learning about all the different things that are happening in the world. And the Girl Against Fluoride was born, and that was like a co-creation between myself and my mom. So I was talking about evolving activism. So instead of fighting against what we don't want, we're actually creating what it is that we want, creating the vision that we're holding. That's our power. That's aligning with nature, with the universe, everything.
It's like the embodiment of what it is that you want from the activism, rather than like being like, do this or don't do this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's much more powerful.
Yeah. So I came off the stage kind of like feeling, okay, this felt good, but also what am I doing? You know, and I sat down, and the lady came on the stage, and she was American, and she just straight away said, everyone has a soul contract in life. We all have soul contracts with each other, whether we meet each other for 5 minutes or we're together for 50 years. And she said, Martha and Aisling had a contract to come in as mother and daughter to work together. And Martha made her physical exit, but have no doubt Martha is working with Aisling on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, it's very clear that Aisling is going to do big things. And I was just like, okay, that's why I came here to this conference, to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Just this wave of like peace came over me, and I was just like, I'm actually right on track.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is working out. Everything is working out the way it's meant to be. So I met her the next day, and I told her what my mom said in the hospital. I'm an eternal being, get in with the Americans. And she's like, yeah, I'm the American, and I'm here to help you, and you're going to write into a book, and I'm going to help you edit the book, and it's all going to work out. And so she gave me her number, and I arranged to meet her up in her home like 2 months later. And she asked me then, what's the name of the book? And I was just like, Moving from Fear to Trust. Here we go. This is it. And then it started, and I, you know, starting to write it, and absolutely my mom was like coming in and showing me different pieces that I need to hear. And oh, it was incredible. Even like my mom was a school teacher, and even one night I got a message on Facebook from a colleague in her teaching staff, and she said, I feel like Martha has been contacting me tonight, and I have to share with you this video. And it was incredible. It was this an author that was again talking all about like death and near-death experiences, and he was saying that like we're so much more than the personality that we're playing, say in this lifetime. Like we're so much more than that. And he was really helping families to cope with like grief and loss and things like that. And it was like a time where I needed to hear that, you know, as in messages like that were always coming into me through various ways. And I was just like, oh yeah, there she is, you know, working away, kind of bringing this in and just kind of giving me the nudges. And I think because death really is the unknown, is the mystery. And I think to be able to trust in that is what allows you to then trust in your calling, trust in being able to like let go of the way things have been done to allow a new way to emerge through us. Because I think our ego finds change and uncertainty really terrifying. So I really feel like how that message came through was to be just this like clarion call to go out to those who are ready to hear that message, to just give them that, yes, I can trust, I can let go of the knowing, I can let go of like not being able to see how the whole path is going to unfold.
Yeah, the how.
Knowing the how.
Like
exactly.
Humans are so obsessed. Well, how? Like and that can stop you, you know, from moving forward. It's like, well, I can't logically figure out how that's going to happen.
Yeah, because it's like in the birth, you know, after that I chose to free birth, and I had a wild pregnancy and free birthing Rian. And again, you're brought to those places of like those edges in yourself, like how is this going to work? Like how. Like I remember saying to Richie, like, how is he going to come out?
Yeah. Like you can't make sense of it. Yeah.
Yeah. My mind was just like how is my body opening? And it's like, no, you just surrender and it comes through you. But I think it's like birth is the beginning of that knowing. But I think it's so much more than just birth, because I think we're birthing a completely new paradigm. And that's what I feel. And that's what I know, because I was called onto my path kind of kicking and screaming when I was 23. Like I was on a completely different trajectory, and my health had to completely break down to the point where I was just like,
same.
I physically
same.
Cannot walk another step in that direction, because it was just like, you can't.
Same.
And I think we are very similar as well.
I think that's why we're on this path, is because we've gone through what it can look like to just, you know, not feel good. And then make a choice and be like, oh, wow, like, no, actually, like, our moms were right. Because I know that we have that in common as well, that our moms were both, like, pioneers of their time, especially when it came to health. And now it's kind of like, it's our turn to continue that on. But we both went through the rejection of health.
Yes.
Were you on birth control as well? I'm just curious. That just popped into my mind.
I tried it for like a month, and I felt terrible, really bad. And I was just like, I actually can't take that. I was like, good luck to it. I was like, not a chance. Yeah.
I think that was a really big part about, I think I was choosing just everything that made me feel bad around that specific age as well. But it was, when I look back on it, I'm like, I think birth control played a really big role in me making the wrong choices for myself. From about 14 to 25, 15 to 25, I was on it. And so that was like another added layer for me that I think was really messing with my health. But yeah, no, just making those wrong choices that don't feel in alignment. And then you're brought to this point of like, okay, like I literally cannot do this anymore. And you knew better, because your mom was always about health, right? So you know,
I was totally going against her, and I felt like, well, looking back now, I suppose I see that I was going so far into like the artificial world. Yeah. My friend Kira likes to call it the artificial matrix, which I think is a perfect description of it.
That's exactly what it is.
And it was like, but then I went so far, and then I realized, okay, no, this is like so wrong in every way, shape, or form. I feel so bad. That then the call for the organic and real matrix that my mom was nurturing me in was just like, bring me back to it now. Like, I'll do anything to just like return to that. And even like for me, I'm not sure, like a lot of people who've taken antidepressants, coming off them is the hardest part, because you go into withdrawals and your brain neurotransmitters are just like all over the place. And I felt like I was getting like electric shocks in my head.
Were you on antidepressants as well?
Yeah, for like nearly 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the only way that I was able to like keep going in that world, because I'm so sensitive that was the only way I could actually cope being in it.
Yeah.
And even in that, I was just like,
right. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. That's what it is. That's the only answer at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Is to be on medication, because it follows suit with how you're treating your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So then when I came off medication and started to feel myself coming back to life, I was just, this vision just like came in. It was just like, this is what you're here to do. This is what you're here to lead other people. You're here to bring in this new paradigm of health. You're here to support other people. But I was only like 23 going, how do I do this? And I remember then going, do you know what? I'm not going to be able to do that. So I tried to even apply for a job as an occupational therapist, which I trained in university. And I was filling in the application. And as I was doing it, I just started to like break down, bawling, crying. It was almost like my soul going, no, you're going in the wrong direction. This is not the path for you. Because I was even going to emigrate to Australia. Because I was like, there's not enough work here in Ireland. I'm going to move to Australia. And then I literally, like for about 2 days, I couldn't even function. I was just like in such a depression in myself. And I said it to my mom, and she said, Aisling, I know that you're here for a completely different path. And you're going to find your way.
Wow.
Because I was just like, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I actually bring, like, I have a vision, but how do I actually bring it into reality? Like, how do I even start it? And then the Girl Against Fluoride campaign was born. Again, that happened through me. It wasn't even me. It was just coming through me. Even to the point that people used to say to us, like, do you have a PR company working for you? And I was like, no, this is just myself, my mom at home, making up ideas and, executing the ideas.
Yeah.
And, I even stripped my underwear, like this pink underwear with a big banner saying stripped of my rights outside the Irish government. And got in like all the tabloids and everything.
It's my favorite. I just love this story so much.
Because I was so angry at the time. I was like, they're stripping me of my rights. They're drugging my water. That's it. I'm getting a banner. And I'm doing like
that was the symbolic way. Well, that was how I'm sure you got a lot of attention from,
Well, it was planned as in, because I said to my mom, what's it going to take for people to listen? Because we were saying it and people are just like, oh, the two are absolute conspiracy theory nut jobs. So I was just like, how are we going to get them to listen? She said, you're just going to have to strip off, Aisling, because that's how like all the different marketing companies do it. Get women to be like naked. So I thought that's a great idea.
I just need to see a photo of that so badly. Like it just sounds.
I'll send you on some pictures.
So funny. I love it.
They are so funny, and it's again, it was just coming through us, and but again, it was like this life force. It had a life of its own.
Yeah.
Because we went to Skellig Michael. Have you seen Star Wars?
No. Oh, a little bit. A little bit.
So there's a scene where it was filmed on Skellig Michael. It's off the south of Kerry. It's near where we're living, and it's an energy portal. So it's connected to ancient Egypt. It's along the ley line, so it's a lot of earth energies are moving through it. It's very, very magical. But my mom and I went there in 2012, and we literally were just like standing in the portal, going, "We are conduits for this, for the fluoride message to come through us. We will do whatever it takes to bring this into the world."
Wow.
And we signed that contract, and we were just like, that's what we're doing. And it was from that moment that it was like this energy, life force came into it. And I was just like, how? Even somebody built our website and I didn't even know who they were. And I was just like, how did that happen? Somebody just built this website. I don't even know who they are. We got a company that donated all of the banners and everything for free.
Wow.
Just for example, like all these kind of things were lining up. And then I was thinking of taking a court case. So I got like a legal team involved, and we had everything, and everything was kind of going in that direction. And then the barrister was about to file the papers to the High Court. And the night before he was to do that, his house power got cut out by a storm, but we were still like not getting the message. You know, it was literally going, yeah, you're going, okay, you brought it to this point, but you're not, this isn't where you're meant to be going anymore with this. And then we had a meeting with our solicitor, and he said, you know, the public awareness isn't there. You don't have the public behind you. Even take a case like this right now, because something like this is so monumental to do. You need to have support behind you. So he said, you really need to focus on raising awareness. And, you know, and in my way of translating that, you know, because he's obviously a solicitor and speaks like that, what I heard was, your job is to change the consciousness, not even change, but actually to open the consciousness and bring people on that journey. And then, yeah, I felt like that was our new journey that opened into understanding all about like how reality is created, how beliefs create your reality, like the metaphysics, you know, behind creation, and learning all of that opened me up to a whole different world that I realized, okay, it's not about fighting this outside hologram. It's actually about creating a new one that eventually the old will be dissolved, because the new one will be so strong and so potent. And so, and I can even see that with the fluoride, how it's already shifting so much, you know, even like in the scientific community. Before, scientists couldn't even go near it because it was like you'd actually end your career even talking about it. Whereas now, big, like even pediatric journals have come out with studies showing how it's linked to lowering of IQ, you know, its impact on the brain. So all of this is happening. There's like this undercurrent of movement. But if you were to look at it like on the surface, you go, well, you haven't actually succeeded yet. But it's like things of this nature take time to turn around, because they're so ingrained in the collective field. Yeah. That it takes time for that to dissolve. And then our friends in America have actually taken a court case, because one of the guys in the campaign actually went back and he trained as a lawyer. So he's taken a case. And it's incredible, because he has the government officials like on record saying that they don't have any safety studies on how, you know, if it has any impact on pregnant women or on babies or on the brain. You know, basically it's like it's a house of cards waiting to fall down. But again, our role is not to just be like tearing down what is not right. It's actually about, okay, how do we create a world that creates health?
That's it. And the embodiment of that, you know,
yeah,
I can feel
on yourself.
I totally can resonate with that, where you're like, when you start discovering all of these things. And, you know, my mom back in the early 90s, I remember being at the dentist and my mom telling them, I don't want her to have fluoride. And they would make fun of her and laugh at her at, like, you know, when she would say that. And now it's like slowly people are coming around and realizing that there's something wrong with it. But my mom was very much like, you know, she would be standing on her soapbox like, no, like this is bad for you. It's not, it's back then. I don't even know where we didn't have the internet. I don't even know where she was getting that information from, but
she just knew it instinctively, because my mom didn't have any of that information. Right. And she just knew it. And she always had fluoride-free toothpaste.
Right. Same.
And she never even knew that we had fluoride in the water. You know, she never knew that.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So there's that way of going around and being like, no, this is, and I've definitely done that myself. And then when you start to realize that that's actually pushing people away, you go through that, or I went through that transition of realizing, okay, maybe it's actually better for me to just be what it is that I'm preaching, rather than just be standing here like preaching, waving my finger, because nobody's receives that well. People usually don't receive that well. But, you know, when you start to embody your energy, you start to do, you know, walk the walk rather than talk the talk. And people start to say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is it that you're doing? And then that's when you can tell them.
Yeah, exactly. Because
they'll be ready to receive it.
There has to be an openness and a willingness, because again, I met a woman and she was saying to me that she heard of me as the girl against fluoride years and years ago, but she said she wasn't open to even take on board. Yeah. Whereas then years later, she actually had an awakening through other things happening in her life. And then she was able to see it. And now I actually see this myself. It's like I was leading that, but that was to bring me to a certain point. And I actually had to go even beyond that into the unknown completely to be able to create. And I feel like that's the edge that I'm needing to be able to say, look, we you know, I think as women, we have very strong instincts, and we can generally sense when things are not right, things are a bit off. But for us to actually step into our power to create something that's completely unknown, and that's where, you know, moving from fear to trust is like a continuous practice in that journey. Because again, we're like leaving the safety of the known to bring through something completely unknown. But also it's not even that it's unknown, it's just like it's a vision that you hold inside you. It's like you have a blueprint inside you, but in order for you to actually materialize that into the physical world, you have to let go of the known, and then you have to be initiated. Like you have to walk through gates. So that's why I feel like the free birth is.
I was just about to say, this just is birth. That just reminds me of birth. Like,
isn't it?
Yeah. So talk with me about your birth. How did you come around to having a free birth with Rian? Was it something that you knew about before you got pregnant, or was it something that you learned after? How did that journey begin?
So I always knew that I wanted to have a home birth. And my mind, a few years before I conceived, was thinking about having a midwife coming to the home. Then my friend I met was talking about free birth, how she was going to have a free birth. In the meantime, she kind of told everyone that she was having a free birth before she had it. And then her family kind of intervened, and she ended up being transferred to the hospital just out of fear. It wasn't anything untoward. So she ended up having a hospital birth. So I learned a lot from that experience, and she was getting pregnant again, and we ended up taking the Free Birth Society course. So she introduced me to that. So I took that course. This was before I even got pregnant.
Wow.
But I knew I was preparing my body. I was like, you know, doing a lot of work physically and just, getting Richie ready and just getting ourselves prepped and everything. So I was doing that. And as I was doing it, I was just like unlearning all of the stories and all of the, you know, because I suppose my mom had a hospital birth with me, and she had a lot of, you know, she was induced. So she ended up having a lot of pain and having an epidural. Then with the placenta, they were kind of messing with that. She ended up having a hemorrhage.
Wow.
They gave her a DNC. So they went in and they punctured her womb. She got, you know, IV antibiotics, and her health went downhill after that. Obviously, it would have had an impact on me as a baby as well, because I would have been receiving that. Also,
your conditioning around birth would have begun from your own birth.
Yeah. So I remember my mom saying to me, oh, you know, I'm not sure about home birth because it was a bit of a bloodbath. So I was kind of hearing that story. But she also said, the midwife who was attending her said to her, oh, you had such an uncomplicated birth. You could have given birth in the wild. She said to her. So that always stuck with me, that message. You could have given birth in the wild. And then when I started to unpack all of the stories around like midwifery and the obstetric kind of programming that has been going on for the past couple of generations, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be having a birth on my own. I'm not having anyone in my space. I'm not having anyone bringing their fear into my birthing room. And Richie was like fully on board anyway, because Richie's very open-minded, and he's also got a very strong inner warrior, you know, so like he was able to hold the space. So we didn't tell family that, you know, I told that I was having a home birth, but I said I had a midwife. I wasn't saying I was having a free birth, because I knew from my friend how you can get all that projection from your family because it's just so big. So I was just like, I'm going to protect my energy field. I'm not going to tell anyone, and I'm just going to have the birth. And oh my gosh, you know, it was intense. You know, I definitely was like resisting the sensations, and I got to a point where, you know, I was never in fear, but I definitely got to a point where I was just like, my mind was kind of getting in the way, and I was kind of asking myself, like, how is this going to happen? Like, how is your body going to open? Like, I couldn't comprehend how the baby was going to come out. I just got into this, like, and then Richie was like, you are doing this. And I was watching your birth videos, like probably 2 weeks before giving birth to Rian, going, I love Caitlin. She's amazing. She just gave birth to 2 babies. Oh my God. Of course I can give birth to a baby at home. She gave birth to 2 babies. So I was just like immersing myself in all that like story medicine from so many wise women that are sharing their messages and putting their birth videos out there. And free births, sovereign births. And so in that birth, it was just, oh my gosh, it was intense, but it was just exhilarating. It was just like, you know, because I was the one doing it. There was nobody doing it to me or for me or anything like that. And Richie, again, he's very good. Whenever I go into my victim story, he's like, he never affirms that back to me. He's always like, you are doing this. You are doing this, and the baby's coming out. And then I'd get him to repeat. I had a mantra written. I had all different birth mantras, and I had, your body is opening like a flower. So I
had that. I had that one too.
Yeah, I find that really helpful.
Yeah.
And I had like Yolanda's meditation playing, and then I didn't want anything playing. I just wanted silence. And then, I was in the birth pool, and then Richie was like, the head's coming out. And I was just like, what?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like the giving birth, especially alone, it's like the biggest trip. Like,
unbelievable.
It is.
Isn't it?
It's a trip. Like,
it is a trip. Yeah.
Especially when you're like stripping away all those stories and working through it, and then trying to like get out of the way of your mind telling you how is this going to happen, and it's just like, go away. Like, I felt like a lot of it was just me being like, shh, like just hush, just stop, and then just like letting my body do what it needed to do.
Yeah, like I didn't have to push at that point, because again, it was just like that
did you have the fetal ejection?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was just like, as he was kind of descending into my pelvis, it was just like my body was just like,
wow.
The only sensation I can describe it as is like, when you get like, say, a stomach bug.
Yes. I know what you mean. Yeah.
It was like my body felt like it was like, it was just like this like movement, but I wasn't doing anything. It was just like this involuntary muscle like moving. And it was almost like the baby was being ejected out, and the head came out first, and then he was in the water for a while, and then because I'm thinking it back now because I have the actual birth video, so I've watched it back, and then you can just see like the body is just resting. And the sensation is building up the power. And then once it reaches its, potency, it just, he propels out, like the whole body comes out, and I just scoop him up. And oh my gosh, just seeing his little face and his eyes, and he's just so vibrant and pink. And then he just started crying, like just, telling us, we're here, I'm here. And I just kept saying to him, like, Mama's here. And it was just, just so magical. And in that moment, as he was coming out, I was just like, I can actually do anything. Like, I can do anything.
Yeah.
What have I been? I've been lying to myself all along, thinking that I'm not capable of this. And I think what it is it's awakening you to your creational power. That's what it is. And I think that's what it's meant to be. And it's like, that can only be accessed if it's in a situation where you are taking full ownership of your birth.
Yeah. That totally resonates. And I think the seeds that are planted through birth, it continues to have a ripple effect on the rest of your life with everything that you do. It never stops. Like, it's not like birth is like a means to an end. It's like, okay, the birth, now it's happened, now it's done. Now that's the end of it. It's like, it's now created something new that then goes on forever and continues on. And then that lives within you and within the blueprint of now that child.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's like it's a legacy, isn't it, that you're creating for the next generation of knowing their power.
Yeah
That's encoded into them. That's their birthright. That we're not like broken, and that we need to have all these different things done to us, that we're actually whole and intact.
Yeah, definitely. How was your postpartum with Rian?
Well, I would just say I was very, very lucky in that I had Richie, really on board. So I did like the 40 days rest.
Yeah.
And I was just really, again, it was just so blissful. Like the first, say, 3 to 4 months anyway, were like probably the best time of my life.
Wow.
The best time of my life. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, it was obviously, intense as well with it, but it was just this undercurrent of just such happiness and well-being and being fully supported. And the hard part for me was that kind of transition of like, okay, I'm a mother, but now how do I mother my calling and be a mother to Rian? That was my kind of edge that I have been meeting and continue to meet. because it's like all of my energy is kind of for him, but also I know that I'm not just here to be a mother. So my postpartum, I suppose we decided to go touring, so we went traveling then when Reen was 9 months.
Right.
In a camper van.
Right.
So that was a big initiation in itself. Again, going into the unknown. We were going in like Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden. So we were on the road for 6 months living in a camper van. But yeah, intense, but also like I'm so happy that we did it, because we just had such beautiful family memories, and just the beginning of our family and what we're creating together. You know, because obviously I have a vision, Richie has his own vision with his work, and we have a shared collective vision as a family. And I think for us to be able to bring that in, we have to really open ourselves into, like, you know, we have to be stretched into our capacity. And I think that's where the birth, because I know for a fact, I know for a fact if I was in a hospital and I reached a certain point in the birth, I would have been like, just give me some pain, just take this intensity away, just take it away. But it was like that in itself is actually not serving you long term, because even though sometimes it's temporarily very uncomfortable, it's actually opening your capacity. And you sometimes need those situations to happen. So that's why I say, you know, there's key initiations written into your life to actually open that up. And you have that choice to either go into like being victimized, going into the victim story, or being like, I'm a creator and I'm actually choosing to be here. Like, this is all part of my experience. And yeah, that moving from fear to trust is like my constant teacher. And that was actually, the tour was really preparing me then for releasing the book, which I did last summer in Ireland. And, you know, again, it's something that I feel I'll be doing over my lifetime. It's not just like, oh, I just get this book out and, you know, hope I sell a few copies. But it's actually about, this is an organic unfolding through me. And I know it's like a cornerstone of my life's work. And I'm to live that and lead that first and foremost, before I can ever expect anyone else to receive that medicine and be able to like live it in their own life. So, I'm always like, my mind is always like, yeah, you're to go first, Aisling. It's even with the birth, you know, to be able to do that and show people, like, I was a first time mom. I did that at home. I'm going to share the birth video at some point this year. And just to show people, because I think, as you said, you can be talking all the talk, but unless you walk the walk and demonstrate it for real to people, can they actually be able to take that on board and be able to live that themselves?
Definitely. And I think what you just said about, you know, there's like, are we playing the short-term game here, or are we playing the long-term game? And of course, there's always choices and decisions that we can make that maybe like help us in that moment. And I experienced that a lot in motherhood, where it's like, oh, do we just do this or do that because it's going to help me right now in this moment? Or am I going to really sit here and be present with this and this feeling and really work through this and know that this is going to have really great long-term effects? And that, I mean, that just comes up, of course, in birth and in life and all these different things. But like, that is a piece of medicine that's been really coming up for me recently. So you have your book, and you are a modern medicine woman. What does that mean?
A modern medicine woman is a woman of the community who people go to be able to self-heal. So they're using, you know, nutrition or herbs or homeopathy or soul medicine or, you know, storytelling. There's many, many different aspects. In this lifetime, I'm using the medium of nutrition. So I use like holistic nutrition. I support a lot of people healing autoimmune, chronic conditions, mystery illnesses that are being either used, you know, they're either using medication or they've been asked to take surgery and things like that. So I'm providing a different paradigm of health where people address the root cause behind symptoms. And they're able to support the regenerative power of their body to heal itself. So again, it's a total different dynamic to going to, say, a medical doctor, where there's that kind of hierarchy where they're, you know, prescribing for you and they're the authority. Whereas in my role, it's really to activate and support the other person to come into their own authority, that they're leading it, that they're taking charge, and that they're completely responsible for their health. So I'm acting very much as a guide and as an activator and bringing through the the wisdom that people need to hear, but ultimately it's about getting those to become their own leader and initiate into their power.
I love
That's
that.
really what it.
I love
Yeah.
that so much. And, that's what it is now. And I think that that's part of, we've talked a lot about coming into this new earth. And a lot of that is taking the power back into our hands of being our own best doctor. Going back and healing the root cause of what it is that this disease is, in your body. Like what really is that? And how can we heal that without putting a Band-Aid over it or masking it with something? Like, really getting back to that. And so, that work is so very needed.
Yeah.
At this time.
So I created, it's called Aisling Health School, because my name Aisling means vision or dream.
Wow.
So it's very,
I didn't know that.
The dream and vision of your health. And it's in a health school to be able to provide that like education and support and community for those who are going on this path. And I'm very excited. So I've built a whole new platform that is launching next week.
Yay!
And I've created a free Health in Your Power starter course. So whoever is interested, they can get the sign up for that. They can take the free course, and it gives them really the foundations for being able to create a regenerative diet and to kind of go through a lot of the myths that are out there, because we've been so programmed by so many different hidden agendas that for us to kind of just unpack all that is really, is kind of the first starting point, and then you can kind of take the journey from that place. I'm offering one-to-one mentorship. And then I have the membership, which is a group experience. And then I'm going to be having courses this year. So there's going to be the Moving from Fear to Trust portal. And then I'm having the Mother Temple, which is a mother and child health program. So I'm like so excited because I can see, right, they're all there and they're in my blueprint, and I'm just like birthing them into the world. And I'm very, very excited because I feel it's this kind of co-creation that's happening with those who are on that precipice of kind of going, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep using drugs to suppress my symptoms. I can't just, like, for example, one woman contacted me recently and she said, I've been diagnosed with endometriosis and I've been offered a hysterectomy, and she's only 40. And I'm like, you can absolutely heal that naturally. You can reverse that. Your body can actually clean that out.
So common nowadays. I hear this.
So common.
So much with autoimmune
and mystery conditions and everything. So I'm just kind of being able to give people, again, that bridge over from the allopathic medical model to the sovereign health model, where they're able to become their own self-healer, their own doctor, their own authority, and to know how their body is communicating with them, like how the symptoms are their body's feedback. And when you learn to work with that, because, oftentimes it can be a case of like your body is stressed because you're actually in the wrong position. Maybe your soul is calling you to step into like something completely new, and you're in a corporate job that you're working 50 hours a week and it's completely stifling your expression. That's going to create an internal stress, and stress really is the biggest feeder of illness.
It's a killer.
So again, that's where the modern medicine woman is really about, is it's not just looking at it from a mechanical level. It's looking at the multidimensional aspects of self, which is, you are all parts of yourself, your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, everything is interconnected. And we've come here for this time, but it takes sometimes a grand awakening to actually get us onto our path. So I feel people come to me for the help, but I feel my role is also to assist them in coming into like their new position. So I've had lots of people who've come to me and they're working in like mainstream jobs, and then things have happened and they've like ended up training in herbalism or training in nutrition or whatever. There's all different ways that people are called into their positions. But I think, we as women coming together in our truth and in our power and circling together at this time is so important. So in the same way, Caitlin, as you are creating in your work, it's like we have to create these physical containers for us to do this transformational work together and to be able to bring these changes into our actual lives. And I think when we come together, that resonance like activates each other, and we are able to move through obstacles, move through challenges with much greater ease when we have that support. So that's where my role is very much centered around now, is being able to create that space for others who are on this path. And yeah, for me to be able to see somebody who's like feeling so disempowered in their body and feels, I don't want to be taking this prescription medication, but how do I come off it? And then for me to be able to just give them that pathway, and then they start to realize, oh my gosh, my body is actually designed to heal itself. I don't actually have a lifelong autoimmune condition like I was told. I don't need to take high blood pressure medication. I can come off this. And, you know, and then that is like this beautiful metamorphosis that starts happening. And that is like my greatest joy outside of being a mother, you know, to just to witness that in someone else, because
to help.
It's just like, that is my medicine. And for me, giving my medicine is also medicine for me. If I'm not giving my medicine, I'm actually not feeling very well, you know, as in like, I have to be aligned with that myself for myself. But then it's like that mutual exchange with others is so important as well, because we don't operate in isolation. We're like nature, like we are an ecosystem. And the more that we can see that, how like us supporting the other is supporting the whole. You know, whereas I think we've been in a time where we've been in such separation from each other, from nature, from everything. And now we're starting to like remember. Yeah. And when you have experiences like healing your own body, having a free birth or a home birth, these different situations, they change you. Like they change your whole makeup, and then they allow you to remember who you are. And that's where the work is now, is actually remembering and then creating together and co-creating and supporting each other in our shared visions, because we're all holding our unique piece that needs to be contributed.
That's it. We all have our unique genetic coding that's here to be a part of this at this time, to work together to create. I love what you said about how it's not, even though your modality is often through food, but that it's actually looking at the bigger picture as a whole. Like, what are you taking in every single day? Like, what are you consuming daily? Like, who are you around? Who are you friends with? What are you watching on your social media or on TV? You know, it's really like really looking at what are you consuming, because that's probably making you feel what you're feeling, you know, rather than it just being like, okay, it's just this one little thing that's going to fix you. It's this huge, bigger picture.
Absolutely. It's like how everything is so interconnected. You can't remove one thing from the other thing. Like, it's all this ecosystem, as you say. And it's like, even to say, you know, just do your nutrition is only one aspect of self. But I suppose it can be a starting point for somebody to then give them the physical energy to then start making the other changes.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like and some people come to it through other mediums, but like that's the medicine that I'm here to work through with people. But yeah, it's like this remembering, because I think we are living so much in this artificial world that the call to what's real and organic, like that's kind of like, you know, before it was take to the streets and like be an activist. Now it's like take to the countryside and like build your own homestead.
Yes.
Like
my God.
Grow your own food and like plant your own trees and
that's like actually true activism now.
That is like the ultimate, like if you want to like rebel against society, like not even rebel against society, just kind of be like, I'm not doing this. I'm actually going to go into what's real and what's true, and I think that's the call that we're having collectively. Like there's such a call to that, and obviously that's a journey that's not necessarily going to happen overnight. But I think when we have our visions, we are actually creating circumstances to bring that about then, because we're saying yes to it. It's, you know, it's it was like, I shared that story in the campaign, how we said, yes, I'm a conduit for this. You are saying yes to your vision. You are saying, it's in the same way as if you're consciously conceiving a child. I know obviously sometimes that just happens, but as in, we're usually saying yes on some level. We're saying yes, and
allowing
I think we have to say yes.
Yeah.
We have to allow the vision in, because the fear is what can block it coming in. And we can absolutely block it. We can say, no, I'm gonna crowd that out, and I'm gonna keep going with what feels comfortable, when trust is what allows us to open and surrender to it coming through us as conduits. And so, yeah, I hope everyone who's listening to this episode can take that message of moving from fear to trust to be whatever fear is kind of coming up in you, for what is your vision around how it's going to come about. It's like just choosing to trust. Actually, just that small change is like so powerful, because it's actually it's opening your whole field. It's opening you to allow it to come through. Whereas the fear is like, you're contracting, you're kind of locking away from it.
It's just there to keep you safe. That's
Exactly.
it. It's sort of this old programming that's like from when we were out in the jungles, really, and trying to keep ourselves safe from getting attacked by a bear. And it's like, just don't go over there, because don't know what's going to happen. And then we sort of have this like old programming, and we're like in this new world now where it's like, okay, no, I actually don't have to worry about that. So, but then the fear and that is still wired within us.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
there is some good to fear. I always like to acknowledge it. I don't like to be like, no fear, because it's like, okay, no, it's there for a reason. You just have to learn how to just be like, okay, like everything is okay. We can work together. Like giving it the love and attention that it needs. And then being like, okay, no, I'm actually going to move forward past this now and really trust.
But I also think that instead of being like, fear is like something that we need to get away from, or push it to the side, I think it's like it is a portal. So it's like, as you walk through it and just like, I'm going to soften into this and actually see it as the master teacher. So as I go through this portal, I will emerge into what fear is actually here to actually bring me through. Do you know? Because it's like, again, it's not an opposite. It's not against you. Fear is there for you to actually walk through. And I think you can feel that on a very deep level. Say in a birth, you are literally going through a portal and you're going through those fears, and then you emerge a completely different person. So it's like, if we didn't have the fear, we wouldn't have that opportunity to actually grow into our capacity. So again, it's like reframing that and not having it like an opposite, but also learning not to let it rule you either, because it can, it's like that can also happen. And I think for trust, again, for all of us, especially women who are sensitive, nourishing the adrenals and the nervous system, that is like such a key part of this. And that's a huge part of my health school, is being able to help people to like nourish and build up their nervous system and their adrenal health. Because the world is very much operating in a masculine mode of like overdoing and the overemphasis of doing and achieving and producing. Whereas for us to actually really come back into our true nature, we need to have that balance of being able to just be and have space to integrate and just in our natural rhythm, like the ebbs and flows of our natural rhythm. We're not robots that were the same every day for the whole year.
Especially as women. Like I was explaining to Safia last night, as a woman, I have 4 seasons that I go through every single month. So, there's the spring, there's summer, there's fall. Right now, I'm just about to go into winter, and that happens every single month. So even though we're just about to go into spring, I'm actually, I'm about to start my winter, and then it goes on this cycle. And that's the thing about like the system that we're living in with this 9 to 5 and the new year being in the middle of the winter. Like,
I know, crazy.
What? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's just really about, I think for women, we need to come even more into, okay, what is the cycle that works best for us? And get into that divine feminine. Like, what does that mean? We need to be like learning this and learning what that means, rather than just not knowing anything about it at all and just going into the cycle. For me, it was when I actually had Safia, and I was like, I will never go back to 9 to 5. Never. I could not, because I couldn't understand how I was supposed to be a mother working in that kind of time frame. It didn't make any sense to me. And for me, I'm not someone anymore that's like, oh, like F the patriarchy, this kind of stuff. I really don't think it's about that, because I think we both need to heal. I think men and women both need to heal together as a collective, so that we can work better together. It's not like, oh, we're better than you and you're bad and you need to feel bad about it. Like, I really don't like
No.
that side of it.
No.
So it's about how can we just shift this? And I think there's been a huge evolution in that of like, okay, what's the time frame that we're really meant to work on here? And men have their own cycles too, different from women. So, yeah, like really learning more about that. You know?
But that takes a lot of trust in itself, because I think, you know, again, there's that fear around, oh, if I'm not working in this way, in this linear way, will I be able to produce? Will I be able to still be able to make money in that way? Or do I have to constantly push to be able to create resources? So it's like a whole rewire.
And that's such masculine energy.
Yeah.
And that's the energy that women now are supposed to feel, and we're supposed to feel like that's how we're meant to work, but we're actually not. Look how powerful women are by just giving birth and not pushing and allowing. Yeah. Like, that's the most powerful thing that you can do. And that's not like, yes, okay, your body is working hard, but you're really just allowing.
You're really allowing, yeah. And I think that's the same for all of us, both men and women at the moment. We are, it's like, for us to be able to bring through and create resources in a way that doesn't require that constant pushing, that constant physical exertion, you know, that we are actually able to create a whole new kind of organic way of working and living and being able to have our families and being able to so that we're able to honor our natural energy rhythms. And that's for the mother, it's for the child, it's for the father, you know, it's for the whole family. And it's I mean, there's no set way, there's no manual, but it's like you feel it. You feel what's right, and you energetically feel what's right.
Yeah.
So it's being able to design it in that way. So it's like, even for me coming back to work, like my whole business model is changing, because I'm like, I can't work like I was a single woman with a child. Like, I can't do that. And
you're meant to, but that in society, like, that's what you're meant to do, is you're meant to just like, you're like, okay, now I've had a child. I'm meant to go back to work and completely ignore the fact that I now have a child.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
It makes no sense. Like, you've completely changed as a human being. There's no going back to who you were before having a child. No. But suddenly you're supposed to go out in the world and act like you don't have a child. You're supposed to work like you don't have a child. And you're supposed to just do the same as someone that doesn't have a child, or a man.
Yeah, a man or a single woman who doesn't have a physical child.
It's impossible. Like, I just don't know. It might be physically possible to continue on that, but after a while, like, it's not sustainable.
No, it's not. And women are suffering, you know, so that's why so many women are getting sick and, you know, getting adrenal fatigue and burnout and all the different sorts of things. So all the sorts of illnesses. We wonder
where these mystery diseases are coming from, and it's like, well, we're literally within this system that just is not working in our favor at all. I just constantly feel like it's like you're going upstream rather than downstream. And it's like, we need to just go into the flow of what feels right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm kind of figuring all that, you know, and Richie took a lot of time out from touring to be home with Rian and everything. And, you know, and that actually, you know, family members were kind of like, oh, what's he doing? And but he was supporting us at home as a dad, and that's not valued because, like, there's no monetary result.
Yeah.
But it's like the soil of the family has been set.
Exactly.
And now he's able to go back out and he's doing his tours, and Rian's almost 2. And, you know, I've got childcare now in place from just like 2 minutes from our house. And Rian goes like for just like 4-hour chunks. And I'm just working this new rhythm, and I'm just figuring it out. And my intention again is to be able to have that, you know, time with him the majority of the time, and then be able to work my business around that, so that it's supporting the family.
That's great.
And so, yeah, it's just like this kind of new organic structure is forming. Yeah. So I'm just leaning into like, okay, I don't necessarily know how it's all going to pan out, but I can just see how it's forming itself, and I again have to trust and move through the fears. And again, there's always a new portal to enter.
Always new edges. I love how you say that. There's always new edges. We're always being met with new edges. Always being given new opportunities to move from fear to trust.
Always. always. And
Never ends.
That's what's honing and refining you and making you into a master creator. Because if you don't have those experiences, you just become lazy.
Yeah.
And stagnant. You just get comfortable.
Autopilot.
All of autopilot. And and it's not about being uncomfortable with it. As you say, it's like in the birth, you can also just allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if what is happening to you is intense, you can also just allow it. Mm-hmm. And soften into it and relax into it, and not
That's what makes it stop. That's what makes it so hard. For me I found it was more the, oh gosh, oh no, another contraction. Like, it was when I was really working. I was really working against it and working against myself. But yeah, it's just opening up and letting it happen.
Yes,
it's such a shift. So I wanted to ask you, before we wrap up here, what is the best piece of advice you could give for someone in terms of their health? What is one thing you would tell someone to start, like, right away? Like, what's the best thing that someone could do?
The first and most simplest thing that you can do is start with celery juice. It sounds so simple, but it is one of the most powerful drinks on the planet for neutralizing toxins. It helps to clean out your liver. It helps to build up your stomach acid, the good acid, the hydrochloric acid. It helps to reduce any acid reflux and any acidity in the body. And if you do that consistently over a few months, you'll see a massive, massive change in your health and in your outlook and in your energy and in your adrenals and nervous system. It just feeds everything.
Amazing. I love that so much. Aisling, how can people get in contact with you and find you?
So you can connect with me. I'm usually hanging out on Instagram. So I'm Aisling FitzGibbon on there. And my website is aislingfitzgibbon.com. And I'll share with you the link for the starter course if anyone's interested. That's available on my website. And that's Health in Your Power. And I can't wait for everyone who's interested to come and dive in and journey with me. And just learn the truth about how powerful you are and how powerful your body is at healing itself.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here with me today, chatting with me, sharing your story, and for this incredible work that you're doing in the world. It's so needed, and just thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much, Caitlin. It's been an absolute honor.
Okay. Chat soon, Aisling. Ciao.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much for pressing play today. Please leave a 5-star rating and share with someone it would inspire. Sending so much love to you on your journey. Ciao for now.